All right, let's make sure that this thing is working. All right. All right. Just a second. All right. Sleepy boy. Hey everyone, this is Jack. This is going to be a quick bar-by-bar review for the S&P 500 futures contract for Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. You can see my chart markup here on the screen, and you can play back the video or pause the video and see what I have to say. All right, so the market has been in a strong bull trend. We've had a big reversal up, a spike and channel bull trend that broke to the upside. We got a couple of more legs up, and it's become increasingly parabolic. Therefore, it's likely that the market would pull back, and it did so with a big gap down and a strong bear trend bar on the daily chart. We bounced a little bit and got another push down. We're still in a micro channel since the all-time high. And so coming into the day, this is what we saw. It's very likely that the bears would try to get some follow through, but you can tell by the overlap and the weak close on this bar that it would be likely we would find buyers either at these swing points on the daily chart or at the low of the prior day or these swing points here. So that's kind of my expectation. We could gap up, and if we did, I would imagine we find sellers somewhere above. But make no mistake, we are in a very strong bull trend on the higher time frames, and so that means that we are always in long on the daily chart. But because of this sideways price action, I imagine we form a trading range here, and we go sideways to down a little bit more, maybe to the moving average, or we go sideways enough so that the moving average gets dragged up to the current price, and we continue on in a broader bull channel. So that's the daily chart. The pre-market chart, I usually don't talk about this chart, but it would be probably a good idea to do so coming into the day. This is what we saw, and so here's the close of the prior day. We formed a bear trend, a weak bear trend, and we caught support at that daily chart swing point, and we formed a parabolic wedge up. We tested the moving average. You can see a channel line is formed here, and we got a strong spike and climax bear trend to a double bottom. But it's just formed a trading range with a lot of selling pressure, and you could look at this as a wedge bear flag, and we're trying to break to the downside. Based on the tail here, it looks like we'll probably try to bounce, but I imagine if we did bounce, we'd probably have sellers not far above. On the 5-minute chart, bar 1, a doji bear bar. We've got a pretty big gap down. It's a little bit more than half of an average day's range lately. And yesterday, the day ended with a very surprisingly strong bull breakout that got a second leg up. And now we're down. So we're in a trading range, and we're low in the range. We probably find selling at the close and above the bar, and we probably go a little bit lower, but I imagine we find buyers somewhere down here. We've got a big round number here, 7,400, and that might be an important price later. We have the Globex low, which we are hovering just above on bar 1, so I imagine we test that price, and we may go lower, and this is yesterday's low, this other red line, and these two black lines represent swing points on the daily chart. So I imagine we get some follow through here, but I imagine we form a trading range on the open like most days. We found buyers below, reversed up, formed a strong bull reversal bar, closing above bar 1, so that's good for the bulls, but we've got a tight trading range, so I imagine the seller's not far above. We probably go at least a little bit higher. We've also got another daily chart swing point right here, so I imagine we find sellers not far above, and we form a trading range. Bar 3, trader sold a close of 2. Now we have a strong bear breakout bar on 3, testing the low of the range, reversing up from just above the low of the prior day. And like I said, I imagine we trigger the sell below the prior day's low. So I imagine we go a little bit lower, but I don't think it's a very good idea to be selling closes or buying closes here. I think it's better to wait for more information because we have a trading range. Buyers below and a strong bull reversal up. We have a big tail on the top of the bar, and we did not quite reach the high close on 2, but I imagine the tail on the top of the bar is likely a pullback, so we may pull back a little bit more. We're back above the Globex low, and I imagine we try to get above 4 and up to the high close on 2 at a minimum, maybe up to the big round number or the moving average if the bulls are strong enough. And so far, the bars on the day are pretty big. Bar 3 is about 20 points, and bar 4 is even bigger. It's 22.5 points. So there's a lot of volatility in the market, which is great for traders, but that also means that the risk is big. So I would be careful here. I would be waiting. Follow through on bar 5, but a lot of overlap and breaking out, but not by much. So really bar 5 needs more follow through to convince me that the market is going to go much higher, maybe up to the close of the prior day, or this daily chart swing point here, the midpoint of the Globex range up here. The Globex high seems pretty far out of reach, and based on the price action so far, I'm not sure that we get to any of those targets if we don't get more follow through. We have so much overlap here, I think it's likely we pull back into the range, even if we do go higher initially. Bar 6, a pretty good looking bear reversal bar, a candidate for an opening reversal down, possible swing down to a test of the low of the range into the range of bar 4. And we tested the big round number 7,400 and the moving average and found a bunch of sellers. So I imagine we trigger the sell and go at least a little bit lower, but we may pull back. The bulls may need a second leg up from 4 and 5. Instead, we get bar 7, a breakout pullback short, closing below 6 and far enough below 6 that makes me think we get more follow through for the bears. We may pull back, but I imagine sellers above 7. Okay to be short. But bar 8, testing the low of the range and a big tail like that makes me think that we bounce soon. Not really what the bears want to see. The bears would like to see uniform, strong bars with strong bodies and strong closes, and we don't really have that. What we have is climactic behavior, and that's characteristic of trading ranges. So I imagine we're going lower only to find buyers. 4 and 5 and 6, the high of 6, is a pretty big move up. So I imagine there will be buyers below 4, and we probably pull back here. But I imagine we still need to go sideways to down. I think the market could be trying to form a similar day to yesterday. We have a similar, functionally similar opening range. We have 2 legs down, a big reversal up that led to a reversal down. And you could look at this as bar 1 being leg 1 down, and bar 3 being 2 legs down, and then 2 legs up, and then an opening reversal down. So functionally, we're doing the same thing as the opening range on yesterday. But a lot of climactic behavior. We're low in a trading range, and we don't really have consistent trending behavior yet. So I think it's okay to still be short and looking for shorts, but I would be expecting a reversal up from below 8 at some point. Bar 9, a lot of overlap and failing to close below the prior bar. So a good indication of buyers not far below, but probably still going sideways to down, probably sellers above this bar. Bar 10, good follow through, but smaller bar. Looks like waning momentum. So if I'm short, I'm definitely thinking about taking profit soon and looking for a reversal up, a test into the range of bar 4. It looks like buyers that bought the low of 4 were able to make a few points on a scalp, and that's characteristic of trading range days. The bears do have a gap between the 6 low and the highs of any of these bars, 9 or 10. And if this is a trading range day, it's likely that those gaps will close at some point. But right now, we have 5 consecutive bear bars, and it looks like the market wants to form a trending trading range day, and so far the direction is down. So I expect we go a little bit lower, but probably a trading range, probably buyers not far below. 11, bull bar and a reversal bar. I don't know if it's buy the close, but it's probably reasonable to start thinking about buying below bars and buying a pullback into the range of 11. Probably we need to test up to the low of 4, where we found a short bounce earlier. There's probably more buyers buying below 8, 9, and 10, looking for a few points up. So it's not a very good looking buy, but I think it's reasonable. Bar 12, bear bar, and a weak close, a doji bar, a prominent tail above and below. I imagine we go a little bit lower, but probably buyers below 12, probably buyers below 11. And if we start to rally, I imagine we find sellers somewhere around the 4 low or maybe the 8 close, and probably above bar 12. Outside bar, another doji with a weak close, probably buyers below again. So I imagine the bulls need to get a second leg up from the rally on 11. But so far it's a minor reversal, and what the market is doing so far is trending trading range behavior. So I imagine we go sideways to down and probably find buyers soon. 14, inside bar and a bull bar, prominent tail but a strong close. I think we go a little bit higher, but I wouldn't be surprised if we found sellers above 13. Reversing down on 15 and a weak close, tail above and below the bar. Probably buyers somewhere below, maybe below 14, maybe below 13 or 11. Maybe the bulls need a little bit more up, but to me this is a wedge bear flag and a sell signal bar, so probably we go sideways to down here. Bar 16 broke out to a new low of the day, and we've got a prominent tail. Probably buyers at the close and below the bar. Probably we're in a trading range and we're near the low. Doji bar, a bad buy signal bar and a bad sell signal bar, so probably buyers below. Sellers above, but probably not immediately above 17, probably more like above 16, above 15, something like that. Buyers at the close. A bull bar could be a climax, could be a bull trap. It has a very strong close. It's a big body. And we're right near the highs of the range. So I think we go a little bit higher, but I imagine we find sellers at the close and above 15. We're still below the moving average, so we haven't tested that yet since bar 6, about an hour and a half ago. So probably we find sellers up there, probably sellers at yesterday's low, but I imagine we go sideways to up. Follow through, but failing to close above 15. How come we're not closing above 15 or above yesterday's low? I think that's a sign of strength by the bears, so probably sellers above, probably buyers below. We've got a pretty strong move up, probably a minor reversal, but it probably gets a second leg. 20 buyers below and a prominent tail, so probably we go at least a little bit higher, but I imagine sellers not far above. And then a small bull bar closing above 20, and that's good. Maybe we go a little bit higher, but we still have a wedge bear flag that looks pretty reasonable. I'm not sure that I would call this double bottom with 11 and 16 very good looking, and I don't think the rally here is too impressive. I think the bulls need to do more to convince me that the market has flipped to long. So I imagine sellers not far above. Probably we go a little bit higher, but I imagine we find sellers above. 22, pretty strong close, a pretty strong bar, a strong reversal signal, turning down from the moving average. Pullbacks to the moving average that sell off like this and form strong bear reversal bars are characteristic of bear trends. You can see it yesterday with bar 19, bar 12, bar 35, bar 42, but bad context. We needed a little bit more up before we turned down. And so I think that might be what we're doing here. So I think it's reasonable to sell the close and sell above the bar. Maybe the bulls need a third leg up, but I'm not so sure. I think we have a gap here for the bulls. And if this is a trading range, we're probably going to close that gap and get to the high of bar 17 at a minimum. And if the bears are strong enough, we might be able to get to a new low of the day. So I think it's reasonable to still be short. I would be thinking about taking profits very soon because 22 and 23 is a point of clarity. Both bars are very strong with very strong closes, and they're probably the two strongest bars of the day so far. And if you're a bear and you're short, you're thinking, man, this is a great price to take profits. You know, this bar is 12 points big, and I sold the close of 22 and made 12 points. You know, that's great. So I'll probably take profits here because we might bounce. We're in a trading range. So I imagine buyers not far below. A double bottom with 16 and a bull bar Not a very strong buy signal bar, but I think the pullback into the range of 23 is a sign of strength by the bulls. Probably we bounce here and get another minor reversal up, maybe something like bar 18 through 22. So we have two implied legs up, and we found sellers above 23, no surprise. And we also let limit order bears out who were selling above 24 without a loss. We're closing inside of that range, and that is another sign of trading range behavior. And therefore, I think it's likely that we'll find sellers above this bar, but we probably need to go higher to find them. If you're a bear and you just took profits on your shorts, you're going to wait for a higher price to sell. And if you're a bull betting on a trading range, this is a pretty reasonable time to think about buying, either at the close of this bar, betting on the tail being a pullback, or waiting for the pullback and then buying below 25, maybe around the low close price of bar 23. We didn't quite get there, and we reversed up on 26, this time closing above the prior bar, testing the high close on bar 21, and closing below yesterday's low. Why are we, again, closing below yesterday's low? And why did we go above it and close below it? I think that's another indication of trading range behavior and strength for the bears. So probably sellers not far above a possible double top here, but enough momentum to make me think that if we pull back, we probably go at least a little bit higher, and we probably find sellers somewhere in this area. Follow through, but a bull doji closing inside the range of the prior bar, big tail on the top. I imagine we go sideways here. Maybe the bulls get a second leg up. We have 4 consecutive bull bars, and that's the most bull bars all day so far. I imagine sellers above. It looks like the market wants to get back to the Globex low, but we're having a hell of a time doing it. We turned down just below it on bar 22, and we might do the same thing here on bar 27. But we might have enough momentum up to get there. I would just be very cautious and thinking more about selling up here than buying. A micro double bottom with 27, a micro channel since 24, and a high 1 at the top of a trading range, just below a area of resistance, the 22 high and the Globex low. So I imagine we find sellers not far above. I imagine we trigger the buy, but I'm not really interested in buying up here because this could be the high of a trading range, and we've had too much selling pressure all day. So far on the day, we have a trending trading range bear trend day or a trading range day with a lot of selling pressure. And I imagine the low of the range is established, and I imagine the high of the range is established, at least for the time being. And until I'm proven wrong, until the bulls can string together consecutive strong, uniform-looking bars, I'm inclined to think that there are sellers in the upper part of the range. We triggered the buy and pulled back, but I imagine buyers not far below 28. Probably we go at least a little bit lower to find them. And we're trying to form support with this daily chart swing point here. We might do it, but I imagine we have to test it to find buyers. We broke far enough out below that I imagine we have sellers above this bar. This is a breakout pullback short, and we're closing below that swing point, back below yesterday's low again, back below the moving average. But we're clearly in a trading range. We have a higher low on 24. We don't have a higher high from 27 or 29. And instead, we have a double top with a micro double top and a decent sell signal bar that triggered and worked out well for the bears taking a short scalp. But we have a big prominent tail here, and that's an indication that we'll probably pull back, probably to find more sellers above. Bulls probably need a second leg from this. But I imagine we have more sellers waiting up here to sell. More bears up there waiting to sell. Buyers at the close of 30, no surprise. Trapping the limit order bears, taking the short above 30. And it looks like we have a new high in the trading range here. We broke out by 1 tick and pulled back. So we could be letting out the stop entry bulls, taking this buy, and therefore we may find sellers at the close and above this bar. So I'm still not convinced that we're long, and I'm still convinced that we're in a trading range. We might be in a bull channel, so we might make a new high. And we have enough momentum here. It's pretty reasonable to expect the Globex low to be tested. But I don't think that this is very good context for buying the close of a bar like 31. I think we need to pull back a little bit, and then we'll be able to get there. And if we just start going up right after the close, I would just let it go because probably we'll find sellers up there. Instead, everybody sold the close. We have 32 racing down below the prior bar and closing down there. We didn't quite make it to the low of 30, so I imagine we trigger the sell on 32 and test that low, and probably test this swing point on the daily chart as well. But now we have an implied two-legged move, and a big two-legged move, and a strong rally, and we have a higher low here, and a slightly higher high. And these are all signs of a subtle trend taking place here. In every trading range, you have an active bear trend and an active bull trend. We've been in a bull trend technically since the low of 16, so we may find more buyers below 32 than sellers for that reason, and the bulls may get a second leg up from this rally here. Bull reversal bar reversing up from the daily chart swing point in the 32 low, and a strong enough close that makes me think we're going to trigger the buy. I imagine we go at least a little bit higher. Maybe we find sellers in the range of 32, but we might be forming another new trading range, and this might become the low, and this might become the high, or some higher price might become the high. 34, very good entry bar for the bulls. Maybe always in long. This could be another climax, something like 18 or 26 or 31. We might double top with this high close on 31. And we probably have trapped breakout traders who are buying the breakout up here on 31. So maybe we'll find sellers above. But just like I thought on 30 and 31, that this is enough momentum to get us to the Globex low, this certainly looks like enough momentum to get us there. So it's reasonable to buy the close or buy the pullback, betting on a test of that price at a minimum. We tested the moving average, reversed up, and now we have a very strong buy signal bar closing above the trading range highs. You could draw another wedge bear flag right here, but I think the market is starting to shift more into a bull swing rather than a bear swing, and I think the market wants to break out of this trading range and see what's above the Globex low, maybe even get back to the open of the day if we're strong enough. We have an open gap between the high of 33 and the low of 35, and if that gap remains open, that would be trapping any limit order bear that was selling in here in the range of 32, looking for a third leg down, and that would force them to buy back their shorts, and that would drive the market higher. So this is a pretty reasonable time to buy the close. I think it's risky, but I think it's also reasonable. I would just be very quick to get out if it starts to reverse down. And it looks like everybody on the planet bought the close of 35. We have no tail on the bottom of 36. So now we have two micro gaps between the highs of each of these bars and the lows here. And we have a strong breakout bar, prominent tail, so we might pull back here. I think if we did start to pull back here, then I think it would lead to a reversal down. But I think the context is pretty decent for at least a little bit more up. And that's what we get with 37. We have a small tail on the bottom of the bar and another micro gap. So we're trapping limit order traders that are selling the highs, and we're forcing them out of their positions, and the market is being driven higher from that momentum. So it may not look like it, but what's developing here on a smaller time frame is a small pullback bull trend with open trend gaps. So this may be by the close, it's probably by the pullback, but we might be always in long, and we might be, and look at this, we're back above the open of the day. We're probably heading for the high of the day next. It looks like we are not very far away from the stop entry price from the bears that took this short. So we may find selling there. It looks like we had early selling before we got there, but we're closing above the high of each prior bar. And that's a warning that limit order traders are getting trapped. So that's going to force the market up higher. We're creating some overlap here. We have a tail on 38, but a strong close. So I imagine we trigger the buy and get above 37 at a minimum. But we could be starting to stall out, and we may find sellers not far above. But instead, we're getting another strong bull bar, and this time it's basically all body and no tail, and that's trapping limit order traders selling above 37 and 38, and that may drive the market even higher. And now we're above the stop entry price for the bears. We'll probably test this swing point on the daily chart, and we'll probably get to this high close. We may even get a new high of the day. This is certainly enough momentum to make me think that the day is turning into a bull reversal day. We had a bear trend to begin with, and then we're getting a very strong, surprisingly strong bull breakout, and that is characteristic of bull reversal days. So I think it's possible that we get a new high of the day with this rally. Bar 40 closing at the daily chart, swing point here. So I imagine we pull back. We still have a gap between the high and low of 38 and 40 and the high of 37. And that's a warning that we probably have buyers in here if we do start to pull back. A little difficult to buy the close here. We have, consecutive bars up, consecutive climaxes. That's likely to lead to a meaningful reversal, a pullback soon, but probably buyers not far below. Bar 40 is blue because it's the middle of the day, and it's characteristic on trend days to find a reversal or a pullback or a reversal attempt on trending days. But it looks like here the market is resetting itself again with bar 41. We'll probably get to a new high of the day, and we're testing the big round number 7,400 again. Maybe we pause here and pull back, and maybe we have buyers below. But we've had such a climactic rally and so many consecutive bars up without a pullback that I think whenever we do get a pullback, I think it would be a great time to think about selling, because this is unsustainable. And yes, it's driving the market higher and trapping the short traders in. But strong bull trends that last a long time typically do not look like this. So there's going to be so much pent-up selling pressure that by the time we do pull back, the pullback may be bigger and deeper than everybody wants or expects. But clearly always in long and probably going a little higher even if we do start to pull back. 42, a warning that a pullback may be coming soon, closing at the high of the prior bar, but possibly just a pause. And we get another bar up. And just like I said, we got a new high of the day and we have consecutive climaxes. We have a small pullback trend on a smaller time frame. It's a breakout in this time frame and the next higher time frame. But now we're above the high of the day, and I think we may find sellers up here pretty soon. So if I'm long, I would definitely start thinking about getting flat, especially with 44. This could be a micro double top and it could lead to a pullback, but we still have a gap between these lows and these highs and this low and that high. So maybe buyers below, but I would be thinking about getting flat here soon, if not now. We're almost to the midpoint of the Globex range, and we are still putting consecutive bars on the chart without any sort of a pullback. At some point, we have to pull back, and at that point, it's important to assess the strength because it may be surprisingly strong. 46, another new high of the day, and possibly late strength, but you could have argued late strength as early as bar 39. So we may go higher. We're close to the higher time frame moving average. And if you zoom out a little bit, you can see we're in a bear channel. And you can draw a trend line here between that high, and that's pretty close to where we are now, and pretty close to this moving average, and pretty close to this daily chart swing point and the close of the prior day. So I don't know, man. I would definitely be flat and thinking about shorts here pretty soon, if not at this very moment. Sorry if the bars aren't big enough. More follow through, possible late strength, possible test of the moving average, so we may find sellers here in a pullback. And here it is, bar 48. We're breaking out and closing below the prior bar, but we have a tail on the bottom of the bar. So this looks like the start of a pullback rather than a major reversal, at least at the moment. I imagine we go at least a little bit lower, but we probably retest the highs at a minimum. And we retested the high close on 47, but we did not make a new high, and we're reversing down just below that moving average. So I imagine we trigger the sell and go sideways to down from here for a couple of legs. Bar 50, trying to make a failed bear breakout, but I imagine sellers not far above. 51, a bear bar, trapping the bulls into a bad long, so I imagine we test the 50 low next. 52, a bit of a surprise, closing above the 50 low, but breaking out far enough below it that it could be a breakout pullback short, so it's reasonable to sell here or sell above. And then testing the moving average with a big tail and closing above 52 low. I imagine that we pull back and probably find sellers above either 53 or 52, or at the high close on 50. 54, a high 2 in a bull trend, so it's a reasonable buy for a scalp, but I would be worried about sellers due to trapped bulls taking the stop entry above 50. Good follow through, but a small bar. This is starting to look more like a pullback rather than trend resumption. But but okay to hold long for a test of the 50 close. Man, I don't know, it looks like a pullback to me. 56, not quite making it there, but more follow through. Still looks like a pullback to me. We could go higher, but I imagine we find sellers not far above. And then finally getting to that price on bar 57, and we're forming a strong bear reversal bar, albeit small. It's a warning that we might have a double top and we might test down into the range of 53. 58, breakout pullback short. Weak close doji bar, but I imagine we go a little bit lower and possibly down to the moving average. And then a bit of a surprise on 59, bear bar, closing above the 53 low again, and a big tail, so maybe buyers at the close or below the bar for a trading range. I imagine we still go sideways to down. We bounced and found sellers in the range of 57, and we have another bear bar closing at the prior bar's low. I imagine we go at least a little bit lower, but it looks like the market wants to possibly form a trading range here, so probably buyers not far below. A reversal up, but a conspicuous tail. Didn't quite make it to the moving average, so maybe it triggers and we test the moving average, but it looks like the market wants to go a little bit more sideways to down here. Tested the moving average, and we trapped in eager bulls buying above a bad stop entry, so I imagine we test the 61 low and the daily chart swing point again. So I imagine sideways to down here. Bulls trying to create a micro double bottom and a failed low one at the bottom of a trading range, but a small reversal bar, probably sellers not far above, and instead sellers at the close, but another doji and pulling back into the close of the bar. So I imagine buyers not far below and probably sellers in the range of 62. Instead, we're getting a surprise bear breakout. Now, you could draw a channel line between the low of 53, 61, and 64, and we're breaking out below that channel line. So that's a low probability event, and bar 65 is big enough and strong enough that it's probably trapping the limit order bulls that are trying to buy the 64 low. So I imagine those bulls dump their longs, and I imagine more bears take advantage of this breakout, thinking it's resetting the market cycle, and I imagine we go lower. But because we're breaking out of this bear channel, and there's been so much buying pressure in the last part of the day, I imagine whatever breakout we get will not get very far before we find buyers and bounce. We're testing the Globex low. We formed a big tail on this bar. I imagine we have bulls buying at the close and probably below the bar. Sellers above 66. But I imagine just sideways here at best for the bears. For the bulls, a reversal up, a climactic breakout of a bear channel that's reversing up. So I imagine we go up into the range of 64 where the breakout occurred. Well, we're testing that price already, so maybe we make it to this daily chart swing point or the moving average or the close of bar 63. Maybe eager bulls were getting in early before the stop entry triggered and they bought the close. But either way, there is a swing point right here on a line chart, so that makes this price area a test target for a failure. And bulls breaking strongly above the moving average and that swing point. Now testing the swing point from 61. Maybe we get up to the trap price for the bulls, the 61 high, not very far above, and then pull back. And it looks like we didn't quite get there, and 70 is a strong bear reversal bar. If I'm a bull, I don't know, I'm probably getting out below 70, but it's reasonable to expect the bulls to get a second leg up. I just think the context isn't very good. We've got a double top, and we've got a lot of selling pressure. Maybe this is the high of a trading range, and we have to test down. But I imagine buyers not far below. And instead, we get a surprise bear breakout. So bulls ended up dumping their longs, and we're testing now the bottom of the range. But I imagine at the slow close on 66, the Globex low, the low of 66, reversing up from a test, looks like to the tick of the Globex low. I imagine buyers not far below, but probably a little bit more down from here. 72, pretty good looking bull reversal, but not very good context. I imagine sellers above 71, maybe not far above 72. Reversing down, a low one near the bottom of a range. I imagine we trigger the sell and we find buyers somewhere around the 72 low. Breakout pullback short, holding above the Globex low, but I imagine we go at least a little bit lower. And now we're closing, it looks like a little bit below 72. I imagine we go a little bit lower and probably find buyers. We have a complex second leg here, so I imagine we bounce. somewhere here soon. 76 a doji, probably buyers not far below, and probably sellers somewhere above, maybe 75. And instead we break strongly to the downside with 77. It looks like, yes, we have closed a little bit above the high of bar 33, the stop entry price for the bulls, so maybe we bounce here, but strong enough bar that it probably gets a little bit more down. And then a pretty big reversal up with 78. I imagine sellers not very far above. This looks like a climax. And then 79, a bear bar with a strong close and an inside bar. We probably trigger the buy or trigger the sell, but probably find buyers not far below the low close on 77. And instead, we didn't trigger the sell, and we just went sideways into the close. So overall, the day was a trending trading range day and a trading range day with a wide range. It's about an average day's range. We had a bear trend initially. We had a wedge bear flag that failed here, created a higher low double bottom, and then we got a strong bull reversal. The market tried to make a bull reversal day, but ultimately it led to a bear reversal day. So, interesting day. I think this is a pretty common structure for expanding triangle trading range days. You have an expanding triangle here. We made a new low, a new high. Didn't make another new low, but the energy is the same. After we made a new high, the market sold off. So that's kind of the energy of an expanding triangle. So what do we do tomorrow? Well, on the daily chart, we have a weak bear doji, and this close is 73, 74, 75. This low is 73.50. So I think we're closing a little bit above that low. I could just look at this chart and tell you for sure. But anyway, I don't know. This looks like a pullback in a bull trend to me. So I think buyers not far below yesterday's low, or maybe even at the close of yesterday. But a pretty tight bear channel. So we might have to go a little bit lower, maybe down to 7,300 or the moving average before we find those buyers. Maybe we gap down overnight. But I don't know. I don't think the bears are going to get very good follow through. I imagine we find a lot of buyers probably in this gap. So anyway, that's the review. I don't see anything going on in the chat, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.